China operates around 3,000 distant water fishing vessels, nearly 10 times the size of the US fleet. But that's not the full picture. Satellite data suggests the real number could reach as high as 16,000, spreading across the oceans and operating almost non-stop, 24/7. This is the largest distant water fishing force in human history. But what's even more striking is that China doesn't just catch more fish. It also controls much of the global seafood processing, export, and distribution chain. So what is really happening behind these massive fleets? How did a country that once depleted its coastal resources rise to become a seafood superpower, capable of putting pressure even on the United States? Today, let's dive into China's billion-dollar seafood supply chain with Agriculture Insight, where fishing, technology, logistics, and market power come together to reshape the entire global seafood industry. First, let's begin with one of the ocean's most intense hunts, where Chinese fishermen go head-to-head with sharks to control roughly 50% of the fins traded globally each year. In reality, China isn't the only player in this game. Fleets from countries like Indonesia and Spain lead in wild catch volumes. But with the advantage of integrated logistics infrastructure and large-scale mothership networks, China holds the real power in processing and commercialization. Their strength lies in how they operate longline and drift gillnet fleets. In hotspots like the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, Chinese vessels deploy a main line made of ultra-durable synthetic material, stretching from 50 to 100 kilometers. From this backbone, thousands of branch lines are released, each fitted with a steel hook baited with fresh bait and equipped with light-emitting devices to attract sharks. A single voyage can haul in thousands of sharks, all brought aboard using mechanical winch systems and processed immediately on deck. On board, the initial processing begins immediately in the hands of skilled workers. Using specialized knives, fishermen make precise, fully manual cuts to separate the fins without damaging the flesh, preserving their intact shape, the most valuable factor in the high-end market. The sharks are then sent straight into rapid freezing holds at -40°C, helping maintain structural integrity and stabilize collagen levels, as well as key minerals. From there, the largest processing hubs in Guangdong and Hong Kong receive the entire supply. Thousands of workers handle stages ranging from sorting by size and thickness to drying under tightly controlled conditions, before the products are commercialized at prices that can reach up to $1,000 per kilogram. Beyond processing domestic supply, these hubs also import raw materials from dozens of countries, operating as global transshipment centers with highly competitive labor costs. Meanwhile, the rest of the shark is fully utilized. The skin is used for leather, and the liver is processed to extract squalene for the cosmetics industry, with an estimated market value of over $150 million annually. Chinese vessels, sometimes gathering in fleets of over 200 operating at once, are placing unprecedented pressure on offshore squid fisheries. In the Sea of Japan and the Northwest Pacific, multiple studies show that the surge of these fleets coincides with the appearance of North Korea's ghost ships drifting ashore, as local fishermen are pushed out of their traditional fishing grounds. Despite attempts to conceal their movements by switching off automatic identification systems, this fleet is estimated to catch around 220,000 tons of squid annually in waters near the Korean peninsula alone, far exceeding the combined squid catches of Japan and South Korea in any given year. In contrast to these dark fleets, about 60% of the world's squid catch comes from brilliantly lit jigging vessels. They use high-powered LED systems with light intensity strong enough to penetrate dozens of meters into the water at night. Satellite observations show these clusters of light can be clearly detected from space, forming an optical trap that draws squid toward the surface to feed. At that point, hundreds of automated jigging machines line both sides of the vessel, controlling fishing lines fitted with multiple barbed-looking lures, though without actual hooks. The method is highly refined. The machines continuously jerk and release the lines to mimic live prey, triggering the squid's hunting instinct. The moment they latch on, the system automatically reels them in, guiding them over a deflector plate and straight into a chute that drops them into storage bins. With tens of kilometers of fishing lines, a single industrial vessel can harvest dozens of tons of squid under favorable conditions, operating almost non-stop, 24/7. Once caught, the squid are typically flash frozen on board or transferred to support vessels before being delivered to large-scale processing centers. However, the rapid expansion of China's squid fleets remains a major concern for global food security and seafood market transparency. Unlike Japan or South Korea, which generally adhere to strict quotas and conservation regulations, Chinese fleets operate with government fuel and logistics subsidies, estimated at up to $7 billion per year, enabling them to extend their reach to distant fishing grounds, even approaching restricted or unauthorized areas for squid harvesting. Leaving behind the blazing lights of the squid fleets, we move into the East China Sea, home to the Zhoushan fishing grounds, one of China's largest seafood harvesting hubs. Thanks to its nutrient-rich coastal ecosystem, crab species play a key role here, contributing to annual catches in the hundreds of thousands of tons and helping the region surpass many Southeast Asian countries in the same segment. Due to the nature of fishing in shallow continental shelf waters, typically under 200 meters deep, Chinese vessels have optimized their operations by deploying long strings of traps. This interconnected system consists of dozens to hundreds of steel cages attached to a main line, stretching for kilometers along the seafloor. Rather than catching individually, each cage functions as a one-way trap, using fresh bait to lure crabs inside, where escape is nearly impossible. After soak times ranging from a few hours to overnight, the entire harvesting process is mechanized, using high-speed hydraulic winches, allowing tons of trap lines to be hauled continuously onto the deck. As soon as the traps are opened, the crabs are strictly sorted by size and meat firmness, key factors that determine their market value. In the United States, Chinese crab products are typically positioned in the mass market segment, such as packaged crab meat, frozen crab, or ingredients for processed foods. They are significantly cheaper than Alaska snow crab or king crab, which can cost 3 to 5 times more, depending on the season and supply. Shrimp is not a leading capture fishery. Wild harvest volumes are relatively low and scattered, yet China still produces around 7 million tons of shrimp each year, the highest in the world. What's notable is that most of this output doesn't come from the ocean. More than 80% is generated through aquaculture, with the backbone being white-legged shrimp, a species that dominates the market thanks to its rapid growth, ease of control, and suitability for large-scale production. In strategic coastal regions such as Shandong, Guangdong, and Fujian, shrimp farms no longer resemble traditional agriculture. They operate more like high-tech industrial complexes. Modular pond systems stretch across vast areas, equipped with 24/7 aeration, real-time environmental sensors, and automated feeding processes, turning each facility into a biological production line with precisely calculated output for every cycle. Notably, the installation of dense solar panels above the water surface has created a major leap forward. Beyond generating clean energy, these panels act as a natural thermal shield, stabilizing water temperatures and reducing environmental fluctuations, key factors that allow stocking densities to increase by more than 150 kilograms per acre compared to traditional models, while also optimizing energy costs. Today, the ingenuity of Chinese farmers extends far beyond coastal areas through integrated shrimp rice farming models. In this symbiotic ecosystem, crayfish act as natural cleanup workers, feeding on pests and providing a rich source of organic nutrients, while rice plants function as a massive biological filter, absorbing waste and purifying the water. The result is a near-perfect economic loop. Rice quality improves with reduced chemical use, while commercial shrimp yields grow steadily, transforming once impoverished rural areas into high-value food production hubs. Next in the supply chain is mackerel, one of the most strategic commodities in China's push to secure food supply. While most countries harvest mackerel primarily for domestic consumption, China has turned it into an export and processing industry valued at between $800 million and $1 billion. Unlike bottom-dwelling species, mackerel migrate in fast-moving schools, requiring a highly proactive pursuit system. China operates massive purse seine fleets equipped with multi-beam sonar fish-finding technology and real-time satellite monitoring. This allows them to pinpoint the exact location and depth of mackerel schools from dozens of miles away, optimizing fuel use and drastically reducing search time, a clear advantage over the more traditional fleets in Southeast Asia and West Africa. Moreover, the most distinctive aspect of this system is the integration of fishing with long-distance logistics. As soon as nets hauling tens of tons are brought aboard, the mackerel are immediately transferred to motherships, floating warehouses capable of ultra-fast freezing at temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius. This rapid deep freezing process prevents the oxidation of mackerel's naturally high fat content, preserving the firmness of the flesh and maintaining optimal omega-3 levels, key factors that allow Chinese mackerel to retain consistent quality upon landing, even after voyages lasting up to 6 months. In practice, China doesn't just fish mackerel in its own waters. It also secures access through jurisdictional agreements, enabling operations in some of the world's richest mackerel grounds, from Peru to West Africa. The catch is then transported to major processing hubs such as Ningbo and Zhoushan, where automated production lines can debone, can, or smoke thousands of fish per hour. What is the most widely consumed marine fish in China? You have 3 seconds to guess, but the answer is a name few people expect: Hairtail. While salmon and tuna dominate international headlines, Hairtail is the quiet king, accounting for up to 80% of global production. China has turned this ribbon-like silver fish into a domestic industry worth around $2.5 billion. The peak fishing seasons run from April to June and again from September to November as migrating schools move into the East China Sea and the South China Sea. Large-scale trawling is the primary method, but because hairtail live in deeper waters, the process requires strict speed control to minimize pressure shock.
Keep the tension!
The fish's value lies in its shimmering silver skin, a guanine-rich structure that is extremely delicate. Even minor damage can significantly reduce its market value. That's why, immediately after being hauled up, each fish is placed flat on individual trays and rapidly frozen to preserve both the skin and its collagen content. The result is white, tender flesh with a clean sweetness and very few fine bones, ideal for a wide range of dishes. But beyond nutrition, an intact hairtail with a gleaming silver finish is seen as a symbol of abundance and prosperity, often presented as a premium gift during important occasions. This combination of massive output, refined processing techniques, and strong cultural significance has cemented hairtail's dominant position in China's domestic market. From a common fish, it has been elevated into a product that is both industrially scaled and symbolically valued. And that is why, despite receiving little global media attention, Hairtail continues to quietly dominate the dining tables of hundreds of millions of people. With more than 80% of its territory covered by steep mountains and constantly exposed to earthquakes and tsunamis, Japan was once considered a land almost rejected by agriculture. Yet from that harsh environment emerges an industry worth nearly 150 billion USD every year, transforming every scarce meter of land into a production system built on near absolute precision. So what allowed Japan, a country with limited farmland, limited natural resources, and constant disaster risks, to become home to one of the highest standard agricultural industries in the world? In this video, Agriculture Insight takes you behind the scenes of Japanese agriculture, where every crop is managed with near-perfect precision. Every flow of water is adjusted according to each stage of growth, and every product must meet exceptionally high standards before leaving the farm, revealing how Japan transformed its limitations into an advantage in the race for high-value agriculture. Everything will be revealed right now. At the first stop of our journey, we arrive at the Arita Mikan orchards in Wakayama, where premium boxes of mandarins can sell for as much as 70 USD per kilogram, comparable to the price of regular Wagyu beef in Japan. Unlike the flatland citrus farms of the United States, Arita Mikan are grown on mountainsides facing the sea, where the fast-draining soil forces the trees to concentrate sugars, while reflected sunlight helps the fruit receive even exposure, creating a sweetness that flatland farming struggles to achieve. From late October to early December, when the harvest season begins, the steep and narrow terrain leaves machinery almost entirely out of the process, forcing nearly everything to be done by hand. Instead of harvesting in bulk like the large industrial orchards on flat plains, Arita Mikan growers use specialized scissors to cut close to the stem with precision repeated thousands of times each day, preserving the fruit's extremely thin layer of essential oils, a factor that directly affects both storage life and commercial value. Each hour, a skilled farmer can harvest around 80 to 120 kilograms of mandarins, constantly observing the color, the tightness of the peel, and the level of sunlight exposure on each fruit to determine the exact moment it reaches peak sweetness. Once detached from the branches, the mandarins are immediately placed into lightweight plastic crates positioned along the hillside, where every movement must be fast enough to maintain the pace of the harvest, while still careful enough to avoid tiny impacts that could reduce the fruit's quality after only a few days of transport. On mountain slopes steeper than 30 degrees, the harvested mandarins must be transported down by hand or through miniature rail systems attached to the hillsides, making the Arita Mikan season resemble a massive manual logistics operation. From the mountainside, the mandarins are quickly transferred into the processing line, where around 70% of the premium-grade harvest is packed and shipped the very same day to preserve maximum freshness. The rest is immediately sent for juice production before the fruit's natural sweetness begins to decline. Each year, Japan produces around 700,000 tons of mikan, generating billions of dollars in revenue for the country's fruit industry. Leaving behind the vibrant Arita Mikan orchards, we continue our journey to Sekaiichi, one of the world's most prestigious pear varieties, regarded as a symbol of luxury and refinement, generating around 10 billion USD each year. The journey of a Sekaiichi pear usually begins in March and April, when the entire branch system is carefully trained horizontally along low steel frames, creating a plane of light that allows every cluster of blossoms to receive even sunlight from the very first stage of budding. When the flowers bloom, growers use soft brushes to transfer pollen between compatible varieties instead of relying entirely on bees. around 7 to 10 days after fruit set. Transparent covers are pulled above the trellis system to stabilize temperature and prevent early seasonal rain from damaging the delicate skin as it forms. Soon after, wind-assisted mist sprayers move along the tree rows, creating a thin protective layer that reaches deep into every level of the canopy. By harvest season, each pear is separated from the branch using specialized curved-tip scissors and immediately placed into soft fabric bags to preserve the fruit's highly refined surface. For certain special orders, the recipient's name is lightly engraved onto the pear while it is still green. After just 30 to 40 days, the lettering gradually expands with the growing skin, becoming a rare personalized signature in the luxury fruit industry. The pears are then transferred to the processing area, where every fruit undergoes another round of careful selection before receiving origin identification and being packaged according to strict standards. Generating more than $500 million in annual revenue, sweet potatoes in Japan are not just a familiar agricultural product, but were once considered a lifeline for an entire nation, helping millions of Japanese survive severe rice crop failures during the Edo period and avoid the threat of widespread famine. In the past, sweet potatoes in Japan were harvested entirely by hand from narrow soil beds. But today, the industry has entered a modern era of mechanized harvesting. Unlike the United States, where large multi-row harvesting systems capable of processing 20 to 30 tons per hour are commonly used to maximize output for industrial-scale farming operations, many sweet potato regions in Japan instead rely on compact single-row diggers designed for narrow beds only around 70 to 90 centimeters wide. These machines lift the soil in thin layers and transfer the potatoes onto soil separation belts with extremely low impact, preserving the delicate skin during its final stage of development. This approach clearly reflects Japan's distinctive farming philosophy, where the goal of harvest season is focused not on volume, but on the quality and appearance of each individual potato. From the fields, the sweet potatoes are transferred into multi-stage rotating washing systems, where spiral drums continuously turn to remove soil while preserving the natural outer skin. After cleaning, the crop is separated into different production streams for starch extraction, dried slices, or fermentation into imo shochu, a traditional spirit with more than 300 years of history, transforming an ordinary root crop into a high-value product. As unbelievable as it sounds, more than 90% of the wasabi consumed around the world is actually just green-dyed horseradish mixed with mustard, because real wasabi is one of the most difficult crops ever commercialized. Unlike common culinary herbs that can grow in ordinary soil, real wasabi only develops properly when cultivated in nearly pure cold running water, maintained at temperatures between 8 and 15 degrees Celsius. If the water rises just a few degrees warmer, or the current weakens, entire fields can die from root rot and oxygen loss. And that is also why Japan has become almost the only country capable of sustaining a high-quality commercial wasabi industry. In Shizuoka Prefecture, the most famous wasabi-growing region in Japan, the entire cultivation system is built around mountain streams, where rainwater and melted snow spend years filtering through layers of rock before finally reaching the roots. But clean water is only the starting condition. What truly makes wasabi so difficult to cultivate is that the entire field operates like a precisely controlled flow system. Each seedling is placed at fixed intervals across gravel beds, so that water and oxygen can circulate continuously around the roots throughout the plant's 18 to 24 months of development, an unusually long growing period for a culinary spice. By harvest season, farmers must step directly into the cold water, to pull each rhizome out from the gravel without damaging the plant's extremely fragile structure. After being cleaned and trimmed, real wasabi must be used almost immediately, because its aroma and pungent compounds begin to fade rapidly once grated. Authentic wasabi is never pre-ground in advance, but freshly grated to create a smooth paste that reaches its peak fragrance within the first 10 to 15 minutes. Its demanding cultivation process, long growth cycle, and extremely short flavor lifespan are what push the price of real wasabi to around 200 to 300 USD per kilogram, many times more expensive than industrial imitation versions. But the greatest difference is not the price, but the experience itself. The heat of real wasabi rushes straight through the nose and disappears quickly, leaving behind a light and refreshing sensation. Completely different from the harsh, lingering burn of horseradish mixed with mustard that most of the world consumes every day. There's a little-known reality that few people would believe. Japan lives on soybeans, yet more than 90% of its supply is imported, because domestic cultivation is bound by standards far too strict for true mass production. Unlike the massive soybean fields of the United States, Australia, or Brazil, where the goal is maximizing output, Japan's domestic soybean harvest takes place on small plots of land, sometimes only a few hectares in size, with each individual batch monitored separately from the moment it leaves the plant. Within that environment, harvesting machines operate slowly but with high precision. The cutting blades trim the plants close to the ground before feeding the entire stalk into the threshing chamber, where the beans are separated within seconds. A powerful airflow immediately removes impurities before the beans are transferred into the storage tank above. The harvesting capacity may seem low at only around 1 to 1.5 hectares per hour, but the real difference is not speed. It is the fact that every harvested batch is already treated as the first stage of quality selection. From this first stage of selection, only a very small portion of Japan's domestic soybeans is chosen to continue the journey toward becoming natto, one of the most controversial foods in Japan, where standards are not relaxed but tightened even further at every stage of production. The beans must be small, round, and highly uniform so the bacteria can penetrate quickly and deeply, creating the foundation for natto's distinctive texture. After being cleaned in swirling water streams and softened under pressurized steam, the beans, still hot, are immediately coated with a fine layer of Bacillus subtilis culture, triggering fermentation almost instantly. Inside temperature-controlled fermentation chambers, the bacteria break down proteins and produce polyglutamic acid, the compound responsible for natto's signature sticky strands. After only around 24 hours, the finished natto emerges still slightly warm before being carefully portioned and packaged. For those who love natto, it delivers a deep, clean, and lingering umami richness that becomes strangely addictive. But for first-time eaters, it can feel like a true test of taste, where the smell and texture alone are enough to make them pause for a few seconds before deciding whether they're brave enough to try it. Few people know that by the late 19th century, herring once appeared in such overwhelming numbers that they darkened entire stretches of Japan's seas. Yet within just a few decades, that phenomenon almost disappeared because of overfishing. So what was it about this fish that drove Japan into a frenzy, pushing harvesting beyond control and sparking endless controversy? The answer begins with the harvest season, usually from February to April, when massive schools of herring move close to shore in extremely dense formations. Ironically, the true target was never the meat itself, but the roe inside, the prized ingredient used to make kazunoko, which can sell for as much as 150 USD per kilogram. To harvest them, fishermen commonly surround entire fishing zones with purse seine nets, giant circular nets dropped into the water and then closed at the bottom like an enormous drawstring bag, trapping entire schools within just 15 to 30 minutes, with each catch reaching several tons. As soon as the catch reaches the port, the fish are dumped directly onto conveyor systems, where automated sorting lines immediately separate the females carrying roe. From there, the process shifts into a far more precise stage. Inside the processing area, the fish are opened with thin blades, and the two long roe sacs are extracted almost completely intact. Each fish can contain up to 20,000 to 30,000 eggs, fused into a dense mass, the defining feature behind the product's value. After being washed and cured in salt, the roe gradually develops its signature golden color. Once it reaches the desired stage, the sacs are lightly pressed into shape, cut into standardized portions, and packaged. From there, the product appears in premium dishes such as kazunoko served alongside sashimi, where each crisp, dense slice of roe becomes a highlight of both texture and flavor. At our final destination, we head out to sea to explore yellowtail, the fish behind one of Japan's most iconic sashimi industries, generating around $4 billion USD each year. Unlike tuna, mackerel, or herring that must be chased in the wild, yellowtail in Japan is now almost entirely designed from the ground up inside offshore sea cages. Not because wild fish cannot be caught, but because fishing alone cannot control fat content and meat texture the way modern aquaculture systems can. About 24 to 48 hours before harvest, the fish are given less feed to clear their digestive systems and stabilize meat quality. Once harvesting begins, the nets are gradually tightened, concentrating the entire school into an area of only around 20 to 30 square meters, turning the water surface violent with thousands of powerful splashes. Each batch of fish is lifted using large nets or soft suction systems with almost no physical impact. Right on the vessel, the yellowtail are kept inside continuously circulating seawater tanks to stabilize their condition before the next processing stage is on shore. Once removed from the sea cages, the fish split into two different production paths. For industrial processing, speed becomes the priority. The fish are filleted, deboned, vacuum-packed, or processed into ready-to-use products with maximum efficiency and output. But for sashimi-grade yellowtail, everything slows down with deliberate control. The fish are processed immediately, with every knife stroke following the natural grain of the flesh to preserve texture and fat marbling. Temperature, humidity, and even air exposure time are tightly regulated. Here, the fish is no longer treated as raw material, but as a form of craftsmanship, where each slice reflects an almost obsessive level of precision. First, we head to the cold waters of the San-in coast, home to Matsubagani snow crabs, sometimes only as large as a single leg of a king crab, yet prized for their delicate texture and clean, natural sweetness, making them a premium ingredient in high-end sushi. From November through March each year, as bottom water temperatures reach their lowest, fishing efforts concentrate on crab populations that have accumulated energy and achieved peak sweetness at depths of around 400 meters. The most widely used harvesting method today is the bottom trap, a dominant technique thanks to its high selectivity, minimizing mechanical damage and preserving the crab's intact form for premium markets. In Japan, fishermen do not leave traps submerged for days. Freshness is the ultimate priority. Leaving traps too long not only degrades quality, but can also cause the crabs to die before reaching port, directly diminishing their exceptionally high market value at auctions, where even the smallest details can influence the final price. As soon as the traps are hauled up, fishermen immediately shift into the role of inspectors, enforcing strict conservation rules. All female crabs and undersized males with a carapace width under 9 centimeters are released back into the sea to sustain the population. Notably, newly molted crabs, even if they are large, are rejected without exception. The reason lies in both ecology and economics. Soft-shelled crabs with watery, loose flesh not only waste resources but also risk severely damaging the Soybean region's premium reputation. On the opening day of each fishing season, snow crab auctions are held with ceremonial significance, almost like a ritual for good fortune. Hundreds of crabs are lined up on the floor, awaiting record-breaking bids. Yet only top-grade specimens are granted branded identification tags, a kind of passport certifying their quality, origin, and compliance with the rigorous standards set by fisheries cooperatives. There is a market paradox. While king crab often retails at around $200 per kilogram due to its size advantage, snow crab typically ranges around $150 per kilogram, depending on quality. However, at opening auctions, premium tagged snow crabs can fetch prices reaching tens of thousands of dollars.